Hello, everybody. How you doing? It's Miller Boyzzz. In touch with the Miller Boyzzz on Wednesday night. It is August the 19th, I guess, or something like that. Anyway, tonight's show is so you won't be able to respond. We won't be able to respond immediately to you as you're watching this. It will be played tonight. It should be 8 o'clock when it's played.
Hey, don't be giving up the secrets. They don't need to know that.
Because if you got people trying to send text messages, chat messages and stuff like they normally do, want to make sure that we don't make nobody upset because we're not responding. But again, this is your weekly talk show.
You'll respond. You'll be watching it with them.
Impacting the African American community of the city of Fresno and the surrounding area. Now, as I do every week, I want to encourage everybody to go to Census 2020. 2020 census.org. .gov, G-O-V. Make sure you get your census information completed. The deadline, from my understanding, for cutoff is going to be September 30th. They moved it up 13 or 14 days. And so I'll be keeping that message going as we get closer to it. But please go to 2020 census.gov to get your census information completed and turned in. Also, I was just hip to something else about registering to vote. So you can go to log in to register to vote. That's spelled out. So register to T-O vote.
Educator.
Yeah, I know. Register to vote, all letters, .ca.gov, which takes you to the California Secretary of State's site. You can register to vote there. There's also a tab on there where you can actually check your registration status. So you punch in your name, your birth date, your driver's license number, and then it will tell you where exactly you're registered to vote, whether it's at...
Say that one more time for the people in the back in the little bitty slow bus, like me.
Register to vote, all spelled out, no numbers, all letters, .ca.gov. When you go there, there's 3 different tabs that are on there. One of them is to register to vote. I forget what the other one is, but the one that's at the bottom, you click on there, you fill out the information in there, and then it will tell you where you're registered to vote in California. So if you live on Mono and you think that's where your ballot's gonna be coming, and when you go into that site, it says that you're registered to recreation, you'll know that you need to go back in and re-register at the address where you currently are to get your information updated. And then also, when you do that, when you get ready to vote, please be aware, and I'll talk about this in more detail as we get closer. In California, Californians will get their ballots mailed to them the week of October 5th. And I'm encouraging everybody that I know to vote in October and not wait till Election Day on November 3rd to get your ballots out. That's one way that we can get around whatever difficulties we're having right now with the United States Postal Service, is to get your ballot in your hands and out of your hands as fast as you can. And I'll talk more about the ways that you can turn your ballot in as we get closer to it. So where you want to start at? Behind that preposition?
Right where you left off. It's very important that you vote and vote early. You know, I've been watching the Democratic thing that's going on, the convention that's going on. It's very, very interesting. Some people just don't get it through their thick heads, and there's some people like that. Ocasio-Cortez, you know, throwing her vote behind Bernie Sanders. You could explain that a little bit later, how she's going to endorse. But anyway, we all need to be in the united front. So they talked about exactly what you're talking about, how one of the ways that Donald Trump and the Republican Party is trying to sabotage and steal the election is to not to have you vote.
Right.
So how the post office is slowing down the mail. People aren't getting their prescriptions on time. People aren't getting their mail delivered back to their you have bills that are not being deposited because the mail is running slow. All of these different things are causing folks that wait till the very end to mail in their bills and their prescriptions and all these things to have major issues and problems. It can affect your credit, you know. So when you get this, you know, vote by mail, when you get the ballot, which everybody's going to get in California, correct?
Yeah, it's going to be mailed out to everybody, whoever's registered, and whatever address they're registered at that time, they get a ballot mailed to them at that address.
Fill it out as soon as you get it and send it in. If not, you know, get with 2 or 3 family members. Get with somebody like Darren's willing to help. Go to your church. It's very, very important that we vote, and we're going to say it here this way, that we vote a new regime in. The last 4 years, 3.5 years have been atrocious, and we need to get that done. Thank you.
Yeah, and we'll spend, as we get into probably the last part of September, then I'll get into more specifics about how people can get how they can return their ballots, because there's 3 different ways they can do that. But I don't want to get into it now because it's
no. The message is to when you get it, to get it back as soon as possible. That's the message. We'll talk about how to get it back, but put that in your mind that you need to get it back as soon as possible.
Yeah. So since you talked about the convention, what's your reaction? We talked a little bit about it last week with Daddy, but I didn't get your opinion on it. What's your reaction to the Biden-Harris ticket?
I think that it's going to be positive. I think that Harris was a close number 2 in my person who I would have liked to see the vice president. Number 1 on a more global, on a more national level, because of her influences and her decision-making processes and her her standing, which is trying to be eroded, which I don't understand, in the African-American community. Those are the things that are important to people such as myself, who people believe like myself, and to my children reacting in a positive next 12 to 16 years of a progressive African-American equality ticket. So yeah, I'm happy with it.
Agreed. And you know, the attacks that she's taken, both from within inside of our community, African American community, and outside, everybody expected it. You know, same thing happened with President Obama. He wasn't black enough for some black folks. I had a conversation last night with a young man who told me that the Obama presidency, and this is an African American, 27-year-old, told me that Obama's presidency really didn't matter because he didn't do nothing for black folks. And I'm like, Okay, I'm not sure what exactly you expected for him to do, but you're caught up into the game. You're becoming fodder into the fight of why of the system that you're saying that you don't want to perpetuate. So what you're telling me right now is that you don't like Obama's and Biden's and all them kind of stuff. So what you're telling me is you're going to vote for Trump. No, I just ain't going to vote. Well, then if you're not going to vote, then you're voting for the conservative side. You're playing their game. And so I was happy to see that he called me today. I didn't get a chance to talk with him, but the young man did call me. So I'll have a conversation with him. But people, you got to participate. There's a young lady, I just saw a video. Have you seen the young sister who's a Republican in Baltimore?
No.
Have you seen that ad? I'll send it to you a little bit later. I just watched it right before we got on. And her message is that Democrats have been running all these major cities. She's in Baltimore. Talked about Chicago and other places, and that the lives of Black Americans have not gotten any better in these Democratic-run cities, and that her voting for her, this young, attractive Black lady, is going to do is what people need to do. Black folks need to stop voting for Democrats because they don't have Democrats don't care about Black folks, and it's kind of interesting. I mean, it's a powerful message, but if those of us
here's the thing that I would ask you when you say it's a powerful message. Why is it a powerful message, and what makes it resonate with you with such power?
The way that it was, okay, so she's a very attractive young lady, first of all. She's in a red dress, red shoes, red high heels. She's walking through the streets of Baltimore, which look just like The Wire. Remember The Wire that was on HBO?
Yeah.
The series. So if you can envision where they did all their dirt in The Wire in those abandoned areas and stuff, that's where she's walking down the street real confidently and all type of stuff. The thing that you don't see, though, is you don't see any people on the streets with her. Well, yeah, there's a bunch of rundown buildings and abandoned buildings and that kind of stuff, and it doesn't look very well, but where are the citizens that are there in that area?
Why would anybody trust someone who looks like them that is saying something negative about them? Basically, she's talking about African Americans as idiots and stupid people. Why would you?
But that's the same exact claim that she makes in her video about Black folks voting for Democrats.
Right. That's marketing.
Right. Exactly.
And strategy. That's the strategy of the other side. Look at Candace Owens.
That young girl.
She wants, like so many other African Americans or Black people. There's a distinction that I use between the two, but they want to be accepted, and so they'll do anything that they can to be accepted. Now, I'm going to say some real stereotypical things, but it'll get my point across. I will put on the whole high heel red dress, which is attractive. I will put a attractive African American female. I haven't seen her, so I'm gonna take your word that she's attractive female out there to propagate my message to African Americans so that they could be wowed by, as one of my homeboys, my tight homeboys say, the cotton candy. Yeah, it looked good. It tastes good, but it's no substance.
Ain't good.
No substance.
Right.
All right, PC.
Right.
But yeah, so a mature person doesn't fall for those types of tricks. And that's one of the other things that I wanted to talk about tonight. What people perceive and say is the victim mentality. Because I heard it a couple different times. I watched Fox News today for a couple of hours to see what the other side is saying and what the other side is thinking. And what they're basically trying to tell people of color, not just African Americans, people of color, is stop playing the victim role. Now, here's a question, because I had a hard time when a lady told me that and I almost choked her out, but I didn't put hands on her because I'm a nice young man. How are you playing the victim if you got your hand? How am I playing the victim if you got your hands tightly around my neck and you're actively in the process of choking me out. How am I playing the victim role?
But that's the game. That's the
Thank you.
that's the 200-year-old game. I mean, so
Right.
so think about it. Even when you go back to Emmett Till and how Emmett Till got killed, they made that lady supposedly who he was supposedly whistling at the victim, and that boy
Right.
had to pay with his life. So that's been the game for a long period of time. Is that
Well,
they put it on you. My three
another,
B's. Like I talk about people when I tell people about my three B's. You know, then the God made me big, black, and bald. They say that I'm using that because I'm using that to be a victim. Like, no, that's my circumstance. That's who I am. And if you don't see my three B's, then you don't see me. And so it's a matter of the psychological game of not Chinsu, Zen. What's that dude name? Zensu.
Sensu.
Yeah, Sensu. So you
The art of war.
Yeah, you use your opponent's strengths and you flip it and turn it into a weakness. So
But he also says, don't give your opponent the tool to kill you with. So if you say your three B's, and we've discussed this, I wouldn't personally use that term because people don't understand that. And because they don't understand that, it fears them. And the psychology of America is anything that scares or frightens us. And I ain't talking about us as the chocolate folks running around. We will kill, we will dismantle, we will take apart. And so when you say that, you intimidate them.
So think about what you just said.
Okay.
So the opposite side of it is that I'm supposed to change who I am, my three B's, to get along and fit along and fit into the structure that whoever it is defining me wants me to be in. So you're telling me that
I'm telling you, and we've had this discussion before, and I'm telling you that when you're asking to be allowed to come into a situation, then you have to, I don't know what I just did. You have to be, can you still hear me?
I can hear you, but I can't see you.
Okay, let me try to fix this. You have to be let in the door first, okay? That's the very first rule of being a vampire.
But maybe that's not the room to go into. Maybe that's the door that needs to stay closed.
Okay, so if you want what's behind that door,
I got you.
So once you're inside of the door, depending upon what the strategy is and how much you care for it to level circumstance in your situation, then you have to play by different rules of different games. It would be lovely, and we've had this discussion, because I am just as much against doing that as the next person. But I do understand that if you want to get in the door, sometimes those are the rules. You don't set the rules for every place that you go. Just like now, if you want to go shopping, if you want to go get that glass of milk, you want to go get that bread, you got to wear a mask.
No, you don't. There's lots of people out there who ain't wearing masks, and they still getting served. I agree. I hear what you're saying, but there are people that I run across every day that do not have, and this is not white folks, this ain't black folks, this is everybody. Now, they're the exception. Now, if there's 10 people in the store, the exception would be that there may be one who flies in because he want to get gas, or he just want to be tough or whatever, flies in.
Or the person just wants to be argumentative to the situation. Right. I get you.
So, but they're still getting served. I have yet to hear or see a person be refused service because they don't have a mask on.
Okay.
And so, I mean, I'm not going to deal with it. I make sure I keep my space and my distance. I got my mask on. If it don't feel comfortable, when I drive up to go
into a store and take your mask off and see how long it takes for that to be the outcome.
Nope, I wouldn't expose myself to that.
Okay.
Yeah, I hear you, but I'm not going to be the petri dish in that examination. But anyway, so I just so now that we own this, how are you feeling?
Oh, I'm good. I'm good. I was told not to talk about it.
Not to talk about
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Change
But
subject. Okay, so here's another situation.
I don't live by myself, so
Yeah. So here's another
there are rules
situation
and regulations.
that I thought about you today when we talked earlier, is that California's on fire. We're back in that situation where there's like 30-something fires that's going on.
300 fires. 300 fires.
300.
300 fires in the state of California. That's what
I
was reported today.
I looked at Cal Fire and it was like 33 or 4 fires that they had listed on there.
Okay.
Most of them were in Northern California, but there were some that were down below Los Angeles, between Los Angeles and San Diego. But we could, everybody think it's clouds out there right now, but that's smoke that's over the top of Fresno.
Yes.
And so when you were talking about being short of breath, I was just wondering how do you think it's getting recovering?
And I want to say this. I'm cool with talking about it, but not talking about it. No, I cut the grass today just as an experiment to see if I was going to be able to breathe properly. No, not yet. This is 21 days for me, so
you
I got a call.
Bad day, dude. That stuff behind you is ash too.
Oh, we understand that.
Okay. So all right. But it was just, I was doing a little bit of searching with Cal Fire earlier, and I guess Vacaville, Fairfield, that whole area up there, they got evacuations going on, and this is from lightning strikes. So I guess it was that big storm that we had come through. Was that Saturday?
This weekend, me and my kids stood in the front and in the backyard, looked toward Santa Barbara and the Bay Area, and watched the lightning show. It was better than 4th of July. It was really, really nice.
Yeah, so I didn't realize that.
And it's getting ready to happen again because there's another hurricane that's bringing, not hurricane, what do they call on the Pacific Ocean? Typhoon. There's another typhoon that's coming through this weekend that's going to put high-level charges with water in the atmosphere. So, yeah.
So that's what caused it last weekend, was a typhoon?
Yes.
Well, I missed that.
Yes.
I know they have flash flood warnings in Kings County, Tulare County, and Fresno County.
Yes.
And so that just means it was just pouring down rain over in the coastline.
Yes.
But,
well, you're too busy because you running. What you running for? Not your life. You're running for another. What?
I'm running for my life. Running to stay
healthy.
No,
you ain't running for your life. I had to put you over here in the basement in the Underground Railroad if that was the case. Sit in the secret rooms over here in Ponderosa. Yeah, okay. What you running for?
But County Board of Education, the seat that I got right now.
Right.
People should have got information. I sent out my first mailer. Hopefully tomorrow it will be out and about. Going to houses in District 3. People who are high propensity voters. But the campaign's going good, man. I'm getting lots of support. As of now, I've got 7 or 8 official endorsements, labor and some of the Democratic clubs and social clubs are here in the area. I've only lost 1 endorsement. So I feel good about it. I got some other big ones coming up for the rest of the week. But it's a matter of.
Now, when you say you lost an endorsement, you lost it here recently or from?
That was last week. So I've gone for, it's either 9 or 10 endorsements that I've gone for. Well, this is with organizations, not with individuals.
Okay.
But with organizations. So the unions, and the Democratic clubs and progressive clubs that are around in the area. I think it's either 9 or 10 interviews that we've had, and of that, I've gotten all but 1. And the one that I didn't get was with the Young Dems, and the guy in the race who got it was the Young Dems president 2 years ago. And so I didn't think I would get the endorsement, but at least I was hopeful that I would get a split, but it didn't happen that way. So got a couple of.
I'm going to put this out there, and this is a yes or no question. You had some unfavorable results with the Young Dems in the past?
No.
No? Oh, okay.
No, they've been supportive in the past. They haven't always endorsed my they haven't always endorsed my campaigns. I didn't.
Okay.
But I've worked very well with the Young Dems. Yeah. So individuals as well as the organizations. The organizations they're not overly active, but I've been supportive, gone to their fundraisers, their socials, those type of things, and then their individual membership, their leadership. 3 of them are supporters of mine. But like I said, they have their former president is one of the candidates is in my race. Okay. So, that's a big obstacle for any person or any organization to overcome, that now you don't support your own. And so I understand. Yeah. So, but I'm hoping
are you a better candidate than him?
Well, he doesn't have any background in education whatsoever. None. And so he's a good guy, good young man. He's been in politics, engaged in politics for probably the last 10 years or so. So he's got some knowledge about politics and procedures. That's like, but his knowledge of education is not very deep. Because in the conversation we had, he was talking about being a trustee, like if he was over, like at Fresno Unified or at Central Unified, where he is a part of the board that has responsibility of the day-to-day operations of an actual school district. On the county board, you don't have, your duties are not that. You basically have 3 duties, and it's all appeals. So transfers, if a kid wants to go from site A, school A to school B, and the parents say that it was a wrong, or the school could say it was a bad transfer, they take that appeal and send it to us for a decision. If it's a discipline thing, kid gets expelled from school A or district A, parents said they only expelled him because they don't like, they expelled him because he's not a citizen. And then they bring the appeal to us, we hear it, and we make a decision on that. And then charter schools, whenever a new charter school wants to be formed in Fresno County, they have to go through the schools first, through the school district first. If the school district passes on them, then they can bring an appeal to us as a board for a decision. So those are the 3 main functions that we have as a county board of education, and we'll have jurisdiction in those 3 functions over all 32 school districts in the county. So we have a small teacher staff that deals with so Fresno County Office of Ed operates schools in Juvenile Hall. They have an expulsion school that's over by the airport, and then they have these, they refer to them as medically fragile students. So if a kid has got a terminal illness or something like that, say he's in Valley Children's, or maybe he's bedbound while he's at home. Those educational services that he gets then winds up being the responsibility of the county. So my opponent, the young man who's my biggest opponent, doesn't understand that. He was talking about getting more counselors on school campuses, and getting away from using plastic forks. And so those are not things that are in our under our jurisdiction.
Okay. How is getting away from using plastic forks beneficial?
Say that again?
How is getting away from using plastic forks beneficial?
It's part of the Green New Deal. So that's what school districts are going to. You remember when we was kids, what we used to eat off of in elementary school? They had them hard.
The floor? It was hard when we was going to school.
Oh, you stupid. We had them trays, got the holes in it. We put your milk here, food there, and it was hard trays like we got from mom and daddy here.
Yeah.
Remember we used to have those? Yeah. So they got in their wisdom over the last 30 years, they got away from those because people had to wash them, so they had to have personnel there. And so then they brought in all this cardboard stuff that you could dispose of. Well, the landfills are all getting filled up now with all this disposable, biodegradable things we got. And so now they're kind of making a reversal, going back to these
using more water. And
yeah, exactly.
Okay, I got you.
So it's one of them pendulum swings type of things. But going back to the plastic forks, those plastic forks are winding up in landfills and those.
Yeah, my daughter, 12, 10, 11. I don't know. Mia had to do a report on that last year, and she found out how large the Pacific trash pile is.
Oh yeah.
And it kind of upset her. So I understand where they're going with that.
That thing is its own. The plastic deal out there in the ocean in the Pacific is supposed to be like its own barrier reef.
Yeah, it's as big as Texas.
Ooh, wow! I didn't know that.
And the other part of it that people don't realize, it's not big chunks of plastic that are floating around in the sea. It's these little bitty plastic pebblets that has that the water and the sun and everything has broken down. So when something goes swimming through there, a fish of some type, that's what it's ingesting. That's why they say when they catch these fish now out in the ocean, they're filled with different types of plastic. Well, it's not like a plastic flip-flop or something like that. It's all of these little micro pellets of plastic that these animals are eating out there. So yeah,
I knew it was substantial, but I didn't realize it was as big as Texas.
Yeah, and while I'm gonna jump in here real quick. Shout out to my son and my daughter Marcus and Mia. Shout out to my niece Kennedy. Shout out to the twins and everybody else who started school in this crazy pandemic, or however you say it, year of 2020 to 21. I hope you guys can make it through. It's very important that we tell parents not to lose their cookies. And if you need some help, find some educator, find somebody that can help you with your children. Because Gerald Miller, being the principal of his school today, I was asleep.
That's one of the new things that's happening. It's not happening here in Fresno, in the Central Valley, that I'm aware of, but in some of the other bigger cities, families are coming together to create like their own little consortiums, and they're rotating. So
they're pods. They call them pods.
Like these little educational pods, and so it makes sense. And like I've told people as I'm doing this campaign, you know, COVID, as bad as it is, and all the negativity that goes along with it, is providing public education an opportunity to recreate itself. Because this model that we have of 8 in the morning till 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 5 days a week, is 100 years old. So it's time for us in public education we need to rethink and rebrand what we've been doing. My technology. So I tell people this all the time. There's a law. Okay, so do your kids have textbooks?
They had to get some textbooks, yes.
Okay. You know why they had to get some textbooks, right?
Because there's a law that says that they have to have educational instruments.
There is a law called the Williams Act in the state of California, which requires that school districts provide students textbooks in whatever subjects it is that they're taking. Not access to the information that's in textbooks, but hardbound textbooks. And people are like, well, why is that a bad thing? Well, it's a bad thing because why can't you, in this technological time period that we're in right now, why couldn't that law be that you have access to the content of those textbooks? These textbooks, you can find them online. You can go and download them and do everything you got on there.
The thing is, what about the family that can't afford the hotspot or the laptop or the iPad to have access to?
Then you provide them with the textbooks. If they can't get on use technology to access that information, then you give them textbooks. But what I'm saying is right now, school districts are required. If they got 2,000 11th graders that are going to take U.S. history, they've got to have 2,000 U.S. history textbooks for them. Maybe only there's 500 kids in there that really doesn't have access to technology that you would need to provide textbooks to, while the rest of the other 1,500 kids can access that information online.
So do they get fined when they run out of textbooks for all the freshmen that are at their school that they don't have?
Yeah, there's some sanctions that goes in there, but being fined is way at the end. But there are some sanctions that are put in there as well.
Well, Fresno Unified is hopelessly in trouble then, because
I think if I'm not mistaken, I may be wrong, but I know they were talking about suspending the Williams Act for, during this period of time. And I know they did it last spring, but I don't know if it carried over into this school year. And so, but my whole thing about it is the reason why that law was put into place was because when we were kids, school districts who had the haves and have-nots did not have the same accessibility to textbooks. So the school of the have-nots would get the hand-me-down textbooks that people didn't draw pictures in and all kind of weird stuff and tore pages out and that kind of stuff. But when the new textbooks would come in, it would wind up going to where the haves are. So
right.
that's why that law was put in place. But now the textbook companies, the publishers are taking advantage of that because they know the school districts are required to do it.
Well, it's okay. I can see that you use the word taking advantage. I think that it's to their advantage to take advantage, if that makes any sense, because of capitalism, because of the Republican way of doing things. You have the poor people pay for the excess too. I understand, and I can see it both ways, which I usually do. I can see that. There's no reason for teachers to have textbooks and don't even teach out of them and send them home with the kids and then charge the kids at the end of the year for losing a textbook.
Or think about all the money. We're talking probably textbook adoptions happen every 4 years. They're on a 4-year cycle. So every 4 years, you have got to purchase updated math books, history books, science, and English, and your ELD. And it's on a rotating basis. So every 4 years is English, and then every 4 years is social studies. So that's all. You don't have to do it all at the same time. Think about all the money. They probably are spending, wow.
Yeah, too much.
I bet you Fresno Unified.
But it's taxpayers' dollars.
What I'm saying is, but rather than spending, say it's $1 million. I don't even know if that would be the right number. But say instead of spending $1 million to purchase textbooks, if you could buy subscriptions to give people accesses and cut that cost in half, you got now $500,000 that you can use to do supplemental programs, have after-school programs, before-school programs, other types of stopgap programs to be able to support your kids in one-to-one, hand-to-hand instruction, small group instruction. So I used to do it when I was at King. This is one of the reasons why I don't think I fit into King. But from the school day, from 8 o'clock, say 8 until 3, I did everything that Madera Unified instructed me to do, everything that Madera Unified and the state of California instructed me to do. Outside and Monday through Friday. But outside of that, so 7 o'clock in the morning, 7:30 in the morning, 3 o'clock in the afternoon to 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and on Saturday mornings, I had some extra money, about $800,000, where I could do things educationally in a structure that was beneficial to my kids. So we did Saturday academies where we had kids come in they got there at 8:30, started, I think we went from 8:30 to 11:30, and then when we got done, we were able to feed them lunch. And everybody was like, kids don't want to come to school on Saturday. We had to turn kids away. There's over 100 kids that would come to our 3-weekend SAT, not SAT. I can't even think what the test was called at that time. But we did a 3-weekend Saturday, 3 hours on Saturday academy, and we had over 100 kids that came to that with our ELD kids.
Because two things will get people to a place: passing out money and passing out food.
Right. But even if the food is good, if you got them there for 3 hours and you're not engaging them, they ain't coming. Students are not going to come. They'll show up at 11 o'clock. They'll show up at 11:30 when it's time for lunch, but they're not going to come to your program. And so when we was out there at West Fresno, we would do summer school. We had summer school. We went 4 days a week. And we had an after-school summer school program too. We did 4 days a week of on-campus instruction. And then every Friday for 5 weeks, we would take off and go on a trip. So we took the kids to Sequoias. We took the kids to Yosemite. Took the kids to Monterey tide pools. We took them to there's an aeronautical museum that's in Atwater, and we took them to this space exploratorium in San Jose. But the thing was, the kids had to come to 3 out of 4 days of summer school in order to go to the trip on Friday, free of charge for them. And we had busloads of kids, upset because they couldn't go because they missed 2 days during the week and stuff. So you got to find ways to make education fun, and that's the component right now of education that a lot of administrators are missing. They're worried about the song and dance that the state tells them. They're worried about the song and dance the district tells them, but they're not worried about doing the song and dance that's going to benefit their kids. And so I think COVID gives us an opportunity to be able to be creative for those of us who have creative bones, to be able to do different things, to be able to engage our kids to have some success.
Okay.
So I know that the way we're doing things now is not benefiting enough kids. We have kids that are being very successful in the system that we have right now. But we have more kids than not who are not being successful. And that's why I believe things have got to be changed. And I think this coronavirus shutdown is providing us at least the platform and the opportunity to do things differently. So let me ask you this question. That's one of the things I want to talk about is about the reopening of schools. As a parent of 2 kids that are still in K-12 education, as a parent, what are your requirements before you send your kids back to school?
Okay. I don't have requirements, and the reason I don't have requirements is because if I don't send my children back to school, what happens? So the fear factor plays a relevant portion or a part in what I say happens in my own home. The fear of, because
So
if I had it, I wouldn't send my kids back to school. But if I don't send my kids back to school, and that's a state mandate, who are they going to come get?
You can homeschool them. You can apply for homeschool, and you can become their teacher of record. There's a provision in the state.
We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that, and that's not the question that you asked.
Okay, but my question was right. My question was in line with coronavirus, which is what we were talking about. What would be your requirements, your standards for sending your kids back to school?
Not going to jail. If I had it my way, my kids would miss this whole school year and not go to school at all until they had a virus that came out, which is another topic. Why a vaccine. Sorry about that. Why African Americans are so afraid to take a vaccine. But that would be my thing. I would like for my children to be able to have a vaccine or some type of herd immunity or something that has already happened before they went back to school and been put in that situation where they could possibly be harmed. So I haven't even thought about what the provisions would be, because I think it's very dangerous to send kids into that environment. But no one is going to be listening to me, so.
Okay.
My senior in high school right now is 16. Means he's going to graduate when he's 17. I would love to see him graduate when he's 18. He can miss a year of school.
No,
I know that people are going to say, well, he's going to miss out and he's going to do that, blah, 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 blah. I want to say everything is so effed up right now. It don't matter. It doesn't matter.
Well, and that's not totally true because he's in high school. He cannot sit out. He cannot sit out a year unless there's some kind of health.
Why can't he sit out a year? What's going to happen? What are the consequences for him sitting out a year?
That he'll wind up going to continuation school when he goes to his 5th year of high school, because he's not special ed. He doesn't have a medical condition, extenuating medical condition. So in the state of California, they're going to give you 4 years to complete 4 years. If you're not done in 4 years, then they'll send you to a continuation school. You don't get no 5th year of high school without some identifying factor.
He has corona.
But corona is not a long-term, unless he has long-term health concerns, which he could develop.
Okay.
Then he could possibly go on a 504, which then goes under
he can hide for a year. I know you're talking to the understand. He can go to Mexico for a year. He left the country, went to Mexico for a year.
When he came back, they would say,
okay, wait, let me stop that, okay? Because we're in a place that is all hypothetical. You ask me, and that is my thing. If I had it my way, as the parent of him and her, they wouldn't go to school this year.
Okay.
Yeah, let's just cut all the hypotheticals out, because I think that it's very irresponsible to send these kids to school when
but that's what I'm asking you. But that's what I'm asking you. What? Maybe the question is not formed correctly.
365 days.
What does that mean?
That would be the condition to send them back to school, to wait for 365 days.
So just arbitrarily wait for a year before sending them back.
Yes, or have a vaccine in place. Those are two things.
Okay. Well, I don't see United States of America having a vaccine. There's going to be widespread use for probably until the end of 2021. All this woofing that Trump is talking about with this vaccine is in Russia. They just go inject a whole bunch of people over there, and that's a different set of standards. We have the FDA they got to go through. We have protocols and procedures that all vaccinations have to go through to meet a standard. You brought up another point that maybe we can't talk about and explore too much right now, but the vaccinations that they got in the United States is not ever going, well, the track that is going on right now will never be approved by the United States, because the United States has a standard that you have to give it to X amount of people. So there's a number of people that you got to give it to. And then within inside of that number of people, you've got to give it to women as well as men. You got to give it to all the ethnicities, or as many ethnicities as possible. And right now they're having difficulties with finding African Americans to participate in their trials. They're having difficulties finding, I want to say it's Native Americans. It wasn't Hispanics. I want to say it was Native Americans also. They're having difficulties with finding volunteers to get a part of their study. And if African Americans and this other ethnic group doesn't participate, the USDA will never approve that vaccination. So there's some safeguards that are put in place to make sure that all of our genetic markers are taken into consideration with these vaccinations. It's going to be a ways off. Have you seen Jamie Foxx's new film?
No, but Marcus was watching it yesterday.
Huh?
Yeah, Marcus was watching it yesterday. I wasn't watching it.
So you gotta check it out. It's pretty good. It's a pretty good movie. But there's a line in there. Jamie Foxx's daughter, this lady who kidnaps her, makes a equivalency between Jamie Foxx's daughter and Henrietta Lacks. You know who that is, right?
Yes, we did a show on her.
Okay, so she makes reference to her that do you know who Henrietta Lacks is? Yeah. But do you think that the service that she provided was given freely and told the whole story and stuff? And so this lady was justifying holding Jamie Foxx's daughter hostage based on the good of her being able to make money through whatever the hell they were doing. They weren't doing vaccinations, but the injections they were going to be doing. And so it's just interesting you said it. So
in the Trump administration, do you put anything like that by them?
As far as what? Anything? What do you mean?
kidnapping you, understanding that you have these certain immunities and the Henrietta Lacks syndrome, we'll say, snatching your black ass off the street, putting you in a room and taking all your blood out of you on a consistent basis?
No, I don't put that by him. I do not put that by him. But I can tell you right now, it would be there would be so many layers of cover between society and whoever's doing it. But no, I don't put that past him because it's a matter of money. It's a matter of ultimate capitalism. So yeah, I don't put that by him, past him. But I don't know how they would do that. Some other country would.
How they would do it? You just see them snatching people off the streets of Portland and put them in vans.
So do you remember? This was about 5, 6, 7 years ago when all those young people were coming up missing, and people would be missing for a while. They come back and they don't have no liver.
Yeah.
And all the harvesting and all that stuff that was going on.
Yeah, you know the research on that, right?
What do you mean?
Who was doing that and who got arrested for that in New York?
No.
The Jewish people. Jewish rabbis was taking black folks' livers and hearts and all that kind of stuff because you're the best, baby. And they were sending them to over to Israel. And you can look it up. I can't tell you where to find it, but it's there. Look it up. Jewish rabbis arrested for harvesting. Let's just say body harvesting.
Okay, I sure will, because I didn't hear nothing about that. I didn't know nothing about that. I just know that was a big deal. It's been within the last 10 years.
Oh yeah, some people went to jail for that one, brother.
About that.
Some people went to jail for that one.
Okay. So was it just was it an individual person or was it part of a ring?
It's a ring. There's a ring of them. Miss Jamila, I hope your mom's doing better too.
Okay. I have to check I have to check that one out. That one got you got me on that one because I'm not familiar with that at all.
Hey, I'll raise your IQ a couple.
So anyway, so we're up against it. I lost track of time. I don't know how long we've been going, but anyway.
But this is an educational one. You know, we agree on some stuff. You know, I think that as a recap, I think that Kamala Harris is going to do just well. I would have liked to seen her be the next Supreme Court justice. I don't know who's going to slide into that. I know that Biden made a campaign while he was out on the campaign trail or road that he said he was going to have a woman VP, I believe. And I know he said, because his wife said it the other night, that he was going to have a woman of color Supreme Court judge. Now, who that's going to be, I don't know. But he has made a lot of people happy.
So be more specific. He said he was going to have an African-American female as his running mate.
Okay.
He said that. And I think you're right. He said a woman of color. I don't know. I don't remember if he said African-American or not because they already have Sotomayor on there.
No. His wife the other day, night before last, or when she spoke, did she speak the first night?
Last night? She was last night.
Okay, well, she said that her husband said that when he was out there that he was going to put a woman of color. No.
That's what I'm saying.
An African-American female is what he said on the Supreme Court.
Okay.
So who that is, I don't know. I was kind of hoping that Miss Kamala Harris and for, you know, we gonna take I know we gotta.
Could be Val Demings.
But I don't know who that is. I have to look that one up. Val Demings.
Yeah, she's a congressperson. Was a police chief of police in.
Oh yeah, in Florida, Tallahassee. Okay. If you know, this is kind of what we were talking about earlier. That the white people and our Caucasian people, European people in our society have set the standards for so long for everybody to say what we are in this society which they ran. Now their time is running out. Love you guys to death. You're coming back to the pack. Your lungs exploded. You stop for water. You got to go take a boo-boo. But in the middle of the race, whatever, everybody's catching up, okay? For the longest that I've been alive, for the 50 to 35, 25 years that I've been alive, you guys have said that if you look African American, Tiger Woods, whomever else, that you are black. Okay, right. Black is black. It's blackity black. The five, the one drop rule. Kamala Harris is black, y'all. So stop it. Knock it off. Stop showing your ignorance. Knock it off. Do not let other people define your truth and reality. Kamala Harris is black. Sorry. And as Darren Miller has said, has lived the black experience.
Right. By the way, that's that experience. Remember we talked about that with the Divine Nine organizations. People are catching on to that now, and I've heard it discussed on at least 2 shows. Well, one of them was on TV and one of them was on the radio show I was listening to. They brought up that she's part of the African American fraternity and sororities, as well as the HBCUs. So she's got African American people all over South and everywhere else, connectivities to them, just because of not who she is, but because of what she's done and where she did it.
Yeah. I think it's beautiful. I think it's beautiful. Go on, sister, and represent me.
Yeah. I believe that the Biden-Harris ticket is getting ready to beat an ocean-sized mud hole in Donald Trump and the conservatives.
Yeah.
With that said, he gets annihilated on November 3rd. We're going to have to put up with his bull, excuse my language, we're going to have to put up with his bull, how am I going to say it, his BS from November 4th until January 20th.
Well, it's already started. So, I agree. But and that would be one of the main things that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris would have to put in place. Find someone to catalog all the BS that Donald Trump has put into play, and just.
So you heard about what he did today, right? With the Michelin Tire Company.
Yeah.
So the Michelin Tire Company, they said they don't want no partisan politics on their plant.
Right.
Nothing about Democrats, nothing about Republicans. If you want to talk about, I don't know.
Black Lives Matter is okay.
Yeah, Black Lives, because it's initiative. But no partisan politics. So no Democrats, no Republicans, none of that kind of stuff. And Donald Trump today tweeted that people need to stop buying Michelin tires.
Yes.
Because
it's a good year. Goodyear.
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 And so think about it, dude. This is just with a tire company. Can you imagine when he wakes up on November 4th, when he wake up and find out that he can't be the president no more after January 20th? He gonna do all kind of stuff. He gonna have. You're right. He gonna have an absolute fit.
How what killed his brother? What killed his brother?
I don't know, but his niece talked about her uncle. I heard her in an interview talk about her uncle last week, and she said he's been sickly for a long time. Right.
Now, when people get sickly in this day and age, and they get a touch of Corona, they drink out the wrong bottle, and that Corona sneak up on them, and they thought they was having Dos Equis. And that Corona get your week self.
He definitely ain't gonna admit to that. So, but no. The brother had been sickly, and I don't remember what it was, but the niece said, because they asked her what was her reaction to Donald going to see her uncle, and he's been sickly and kind of stuff, and I think it's a good thing. I wish Donald would have went and saw my dad when my dad was sick.
Yeah, the division is real.
Yeah. So anyway, hey man, we gotta get out of here.
Love you like cook food.
One more time,
for everybody.
please, please, please go to 2020census.gov to get your census done. And then also, those of you who are in California, please use register to vote, all letters, no numbers, .ca.gov to check your voter status to see where you're registered at. And if you're not active and not registered, then you can go in there and register at that particular site. And so as this dude, something else. Anyway, our plans are next week to be back in the studio next Wednesday to be in with you on live. And so, as we always say,
love, peace, and hair grease.
Yeah,
See y'all later. Enjoy your
neither one of us
school.
got no hair. So
Hey,
anyway.
I had to cut mine off today. I was looking like something terrible.
Yeah.
I had this on top of my head right here. It wasn't nothing right here. Them days is long in the past.
Anyway, you've been on with In Touch with the Miller Boyzzz on Wednesday night. We'll be back at you next Wednesday at 8 o'clock. Thank you. Peace.
Peace.